The grand chamber of the Xylo's hegemony shimmered with the condensed light of 1,000 nebulae, its vaulted ceiling a projection of the cosmos, ever-shifting, ever-brooding. Beneath this celestial canvas, the High Council of the Federated Xylos sat upon their crystalline thrones, their multifaceted eyes reflecting the simulated starlight. Their forms, elegant and elongated, were typically imbued with a serene, ancient wisdom. But tonight, an agitated hum permeated the vast space, a low thrumming reverberating through the very substructure of their genetically tailored bodies. The air, usually thick with the scent of ozone and processed nutrient paste, now carried an acrid tang of anxiety. Supreme Arbiter Thrin, whose 6 limbs usually rested in perfect symmetry, now tapped one clawed digit against the polished obsidian armrest of his central throne. His voice, when it came, was a melodic chime, but edged with an unfamiliar, brittle quality. The reports from the frontier zone are divergent, conflicting in their analysis, yet uniformly concerning in their implications. The new species, humans as they designate themselves, have established a presence. A presence that defies all predictive models. Across the vast, circular dais, Counselor Var, an elder of the scholarly caste known for his meticulous data assimilation, unfurled a shimmering scroll of projected data. His voice, usually a gentle whisper of ancient lore, was now tight. Their initial exploratory vessels were of a crude design, Supreme Arbiter, fabricated from what our scout probes identified as readily available, unrefined materials. The term scrap was even utilized in the preliminary assessments. Their FTL drives, rudimentary in their energy signature, barely registered as efficient enough for interstellar travel. We categorized them as a nascent civilization, perhaps a candidate for eventual distant observation, certainly not immediate interaction. He paused, his multifaceted eyes sweeping over the council, each gaze a microscopic examination of their collective unease. Yet their expansion has been explosive. Counselor Lyra, a warrior caste strategist whose chitinous plates bore the scars of 100 skirmishes against the Thrank's incursions, shifted uneasily. Her voice was a low growl, more accustomed to barked commands than diplomatic discourse. Their early forays into the disputed sectors, those barren asteroid fields bordering the fringe, were dismissed as desperate resource acquisition. We permitted them, assumed they would exhaust their limited energy, their primitive technology, on worthless rock and dust. Our patrols offered them no resistance. It was deemed a harmless, if slightly unusual, self-limiting endeavor. She flexed a powerful limb, a visible tremor running through her. But then the reports changed. The scrap ships began to move with a surprising agility. Their energy signatures, while still anomalous, indicated a power output far exceeding their apparent construction. And now they have arrived at the designated neutral zones, the very demarcation points established millennia ago to prevent cross-species friction. A low murmur rippled through the chamber. The neutral zones were sacred, meticulously maintained by all federated species, a testament to hard-won peace after centuries of galactic conflict. To breach them, even inadvertently, was an act of profound ignorance or deliberate provocation. Supreme Arbiter Thrin's gaze sharpened. Ignorance was our initial hypothesis. A species so newly arrived on the interstellar stage, unaware of the established protocols, the delicate balance maintained across countless star systems. We dispatched a diplomatic mission. A single vessel, unarmed, carrying our most comprehensive linguistic and cultural archives, designed for first contact. To extend the hand of guidance, to invite them into the greater galactic community, albeit cautiously. He paused, the projected nebulae on the ceiling seemed to swirl with ominous intent. The mission did not return. A collective gasp, a rush of agitated air, filled the chamber. The diplomatic core of the Xylo's hegemony was inviolable. Their vessels, broadcasting universal peace codes, were sacrosanct. For a first contact mission to vanish without a trace was unprecedented, a chilling violation of every known galactic convention. Counselor Var activated another projection, this one showing a single, stark image, a stylized rendering of a human vessel. It was unlike anything the Xylos had ever encountered. Angular, blocky, almost crude in its geometry, yet emanating an aura of unexpected robustness. It bore none of the graceful curves, the intricate bioluminescent patterns, or the advanced energy-absorbing hull plating typical of Xylo's design. It looked, in its brutal simplicity, exactly like what the early scouts had reported. Something cobbled together from refuse, a vessel of scrap. "This is a reconstruction," Var explained, his voice hushed. based on the faint residual energy signatures detected at the last known coordinates of our diplomatic vessel. It is not an exact image, but a probabilistic approximation. And what is most disturbing, the energy readings were consistent with a vessel of this type initiating an aggressive maneuver. A rapid acceleration, a kinetic impact, and then silence. No distress call, no data burst, nothing. The silence that followed was profound, broken only by the barely perceptible hum of the chamber's life support. The implications were clear, stark, and terrifying. A nascent species, categorized as primitive, had not only ventured into forbidden space, but had apparently destroyed a Xylo's diplomatic vessel, a sacred emissary of peace. Counselor Lyra slammed a limb against her throne, the sound echoing sharply. "This is an act of war. They are barbaric, uncivilized. We must dispatch a punitive fleet immediately, show them the might of the Xylo's hegemony, restore order to the frontier." Her multifaceted eyes burned with a primal fury. Supreme Arbiter Thrin raised a calming limb. "Patience, Counselor. Hasty action serves only to escalate. We lack sufficient information." Their technology, while seemingly rudimentary, clearly possessed capabilities we did not anticipate. Our diplomatic vessel was not designed for combat. It was designed for communication. We must understand the how before we consider the what and the why. "The how is simple," Lyra retorted, her voice a low growl. "Brute force. They overwhelmed our vessel with sheer, unrefined power. They are a species of unthinking aggressors acting on impulse driven by territoriality. We should treat them as such." Var interjected, his voice calm if strained. "That is a dangerous assumption, Counselor. While their actions appear aggressive, their overall expansion pattern suggests a remarkable efficiency, not reckless abandon. They do not merely settle worlds. They terraform them with a speed that defies our current understanding of atmospheric and geological engineering. They do not merely extract resources. They refine them with an alchemical precision that transforms even the most inert matter into something useful. He gestured to another projection, this one showing a barren, silicate-rich planet transforming over a period of mere cycles into a verdant, oxygen-rich world, bristling with structures of the same angular, crude design. And this transformation is accomplished using the very materials we deemed scrap. Scrap, Thrin mused, the word tasting like ash on his multifaceted tongue. A term derived from the initial assessment of their discarded refuse. Yet they build, they thrive, they propagate, and they do so with a relentless efficacy that suggests a profound underlying purpose. Are we truly certain of their intent, or are we projecting our own historical conflicts onto a species we barely comprehend? The question hung heavy in the air, a philosophical challenge to the very foundation of Xylo's strategic thinking. For millennia, the Xylo's hegemony had operated on a principle of informed action, meticulous analysis preceding every major decision. To encounter a species that defied all known analytical frameworks was to challenge their very self-identity as the preeminent intellectual and technological power in this quadrant of the galaxy. "We have sent additional probes," Var continued, his voice regaining some of its scholarly calm. "Stealth probes designed to observe, not interact. Their readings are perplexing. Their vessels, while visually crude, possess shielding capabilities that oscillate rapidly, almost as if they are adapting to external energy signatures. Their weapon systems, when active, emit a chaotic energy field that is difficult to categorize. It is not plasma, not kinetic, not even pulsed laser. It is an energetic disruption, a localized warping of spacetime itself on a minute scale." Lyra scoffed. "Warping spacetime? That is beyond even our current theoretical understanding for weaponization. Var, you allow your academic imagination to run wild. They are simply using primitive railguns or explosive projectiles disguised by clever, if crude, energy cloaking." "I assure you, Counselor," Var responded, his voice uncharacteristically firm. "The data is unequivocal. The energy signatures are distinct, and what is more, their navigational systems are of a precision that borders on prescience. They navigate asteroid fields, nebulae, even localized gravitational anomalies with an uncanny accuracy, as if they perceive the subtle currents of the cosmos itself." Thrin narrowed his gaze at the projection of the human ship. It sat there, static and silent, a testament to its unknown capabilities. "And this is built from scrap," he reiterated, the word now carrying a profound weight of disbelief. "Indeed, Supreme Arbiter," Var confirmed, his voice a low hum. "Their initial resource acquisition focused on the most common, most abundant elements: iron, carbon, silicon, nickel. Elements we often discard as too ubiquitous, too unrefined for advanced construction. Yet they transform these basic components into something formidable. Our material analysis specialists are at a loss. Their metallurgical processes appear to involve high-energy manipulation at an atomic level, reshaping elemental structures in ways we consider hypothetical or prohibitively energy-intensive. The implications were chilling. If a species could take the very refuse of the galaxy, the discarded fragments of celestial mechanics, and transform them into advanced, effective technology, then their potential was limitless. It suggested an understanding of fundamental physics that surpassed even the Xylo's hegemony's millennia of accumulated knowledge. Supreme Arbiter Thryn rose from his throne, his elongated form casting a long shadow across the crystalline floor. The projected nebulae swirled around him, mirroring the turmoil in his ancient mind. We are facing a paradox, a species that appears primitive, yet demonstrates capabilities that are highly advanced. A species that seems aggressive, yet their expansion focuses on resource utilization and habitation, not conquest. A species that vanished our diplomatic vessel, yet has made no further moves against us. This is not the behavior of a predictable foe, nor a simple-minded aggressor. This is something new. He turned to address the council directly, his voice regaining its customary authority, but now tinged with a profound sense of gravity. We will not react with force, not yet. To do so would be to admit our ignorance to potentially provoke a conflict we do not understand. We will observe, we will analyze, we will attempt contact again, but with a different methodology. We will send a vessel designed not for diplomacy, but for raw data acquisition. A vessel that can withstand, if necessary, an unexpected encounter. Lyra bristled. Supreme Arbiter, this is madness. They destroyed our emissaries. They invade our sanctioned zones. We must show them the price of such insolence. And what if their insolence is born of a misunderstanding? Thryn countered, his voice steady. What if our advanced diplomatic vessel, designed for gentle persuasion, was perceived as a threat? What if their technology, built from scrap, is not merely formidable, but possesses a defensive capability that misinterpreted our intentions? We know nothing of their psychology, their social structures, their communicative patterns. To assume malice where ignorance might exist is the gravest error a galactic power can make. Var nodded slowly, his multifaceted eyes reflecting a flicker of understanding. Indeed, Supreme Arbiter, their communicative emissions are chaotic, a cacophony of overlapping frequencies and rapid data bursts. It is as if they are speaking 1,000 languages at once, each one evolving in real time. Our universal translators are utterly overwhelmed. We have only managed to decipher fragments, isolated words that provide no cohesive meaning. Then we must find a way to comprehend their language, Thryn declared, his voice resonating through the chamber. Not merely their linguistic constructs, but their intent, their purpose, their very being, for if they can take the discarded remnants of the galaxy and forge them into instruments of power, then their potential is not merely limited to expansion. It is a potential that could reshape the very fabric of our shared existence. The projected nebulae on the ceiling seemed to shift and coalesce, forming a giant, questioning eye, staring out into the vast, unknowable darkness beyond. The Xylo's hegemony, for the first time in millennia, felt the cold prickle of true uncertainty, facing a species that had transformed the mundane into the miraculous, the worthless into the formidable. They had given humans scrap, and humans had seemingly made it into the most dangerous ships in the galaxy. The Xylo's scout vessel, designated Perceptor, was a marvel of stealth and sensor technology, cloaked in an adaptive energy field that bent light and gravimetric forces around its sleek, dark hull. Its mission was not to engage, but to observe, to collect, to decipher the enigma that was humanity. Within its shielded command center, Commander Gyler, a grizzled veteran of deep space reconnaissance, watched the shifting data streams with an intensity that bordered on obsession. His multifaceted eyes, accustomed to processing torrents of information, were now strained, struggling to impose order on the chaotic signals emanating from the human presence. Days bled into cycles, cycles into weeks. The Perceptor maintained a careful distance, orbiting the human-settled system from the furthest reaches of the Uit cloud, an invisible sentinel. What Gyler observed defied every Xylo's tactical and logistical doctrine. The humans were not building a monolithic empire. They were expanding in a fractal pattern, establishing outposts, refining stations, and living habitats on every conceivable celestial body within their reach. Asteroids, gas giant moons, comets, even rogue planets flung from distant systems. Their resource acquisition is relentless, Giler reported back to the Xylo's hegemony, his voice carrying an undercurrent of bewildered respect. They don't discriminate. Every pebble, every icy chunk, every speck of dust is analyzed, categorized, and then utilized. They have constructed automated mining platforms, immense in scale, that systematically strip entire asteroid belts. But not just for valuable ores. They extract the silicates, the carbons, the hydrogen, the oxygen, the very building blocks of matter. Counselor Var, receiving the report light cycles away, interjected, and still from what we consider scrap. Yes, Counselor, Giler confirmed, a hint of awe in his voice. Their construction techniques are peculiar. They employ massive, highly efficient replicators, not for complex components but for basic molecular structures. They appear to be building from the ground up, literally, taking raw elements and forging them into the necessary materials. Their ships, those blocky, seemingly crude vessels, are not merely assembled. They are grown, layer by layer, from reconstituted matter. This allows for rapid construction and repair, far beyond our capacity. The Xylo's hegemony, relying on highly specialized components forged in dedicated orbital factories, found this concept profoundly unsettling. Their advanced alloys and complex integrated circuits required specific planetary conditions and extensive energy input. Humans, it seemed, just built, anywhere, from anything. Their propulsion systems, Giler continued, adjusting a sensor array, are still a mystery. We detect a localized space-time distortion around their vessels when they engage FTL. It's not a warp drive in the conventional sense, nor a jump drive. It's more akin to a controlled, instantaneous folding of space. And the energy requirements for this, based on our models, should be catastrophic. Yet their ships perform these jumps with an alarming frequency and precision. They traverse vast distances in fractions of a cycle, making their expansion incredibly swift. Then came the observation that truly confounded the Xylos. The humans were not alone on their vessels. Giler's probes detected organic signatures, myriad of them, not just the primary species, the humans themselves, but a diverse ecosystem of biological forms. Plants, small animals, even microbial colonies. Their ships are self-sustaining biospheres, Giler explained, the images flickering across the Perceptor's main view screen. They cultivate food, recycle waste, generate their own atmospheric conditions. They are not merely transporting cargo or personnel, they are transporting entire ecosystems. Their vessels are not just ships, they are mobile worlds. This revelation was profound. Xylo's vessels, while equipped with advanced life support, were essentially sterile environments, designed for efficiency, not habitation. The idea of living alongside a thriving ecosystem within a starship was alien, almost irrational. It suggested a different philosophical approach to space travel, one rooted in self-sufficiency and long-term sustainment. And what of their communication? Var pressed, his focus unwavering. Still indecipherable, Giler sighed. A torrent of overlapping signals, visual, auditory, even subspace gravimetric pulses. They seem to communicate on multiple levels simultaneously. But our linguistic analysis drones have managed to isolate a pattern, a recurring motif amidst the chaos. It appears to be a form of narrative. They tell stories. Even during what appear to be routine logistical transmissions, there are embedded segments of personal accounts, historical records, creative expressions. It's as if every data packet is a fragment of their collective consciousness. This was a profound deviation from Xylo's communication protocols, which were concise, logical, and purely informational. To embed subjective narrative into functional data streams was utterly illogical from a Xylo's perspective. It suggested an emotional, perhaps even irrational, component to their species that made them even more unpredictable. Then the Perceptor detected something new. A single human vessel, larger than any encountered before, moved towards the neutral zone. It was one of the scrap ships, blocky and unadorned, yet radiating an aura of purpose. It carried no discernible weapons, but its energy signature was robust, controlled. They are moving towards the designated contact point, Giler reported, a tremor of apprehension in his voice. The very point where our diplomatic vessel was lost. It's a single ship, no escort. Supreme Arbiter Thrin, having listened to Giler's reports with growing apprehension, now G. Obey the order. Initiate contact, not a diplomatic overture, not a message of peace. Send a raw data packet, pure mathematics, prime numbers, a Fibonacci sequence, the universal constants, something undeniable, something that proves our intent to communicate on a fundamental level. The human vessel, as it approached the neutral zone, detected the Xylo's data burst. Gyler watched, breathless, as a rapid series of energy fluctuations emanated from the human ship. Not a reply in kind, not a simple acknowledgement, but a complex, multi-layered response. "They are translating it," Gyler whispered, his voice filled with disbelief. "Our pure mathematical sequence, they are converting it into a series of visual representations, shapes, symbols, a narrative of mathematical progression." And then the human vessel extended a single, short-range broadcast. It was not the usual chaotic torrent. It was a modulated signal, clear and distinct, almost as if carefully crafted for reception. The Xylo's universal translators, which had struggled for weeks, suddenly lurched into activity, processing the new, streamlined data. A voice, deep and resonant, yet undeniably calm, filled the Perceptor's command center. It was the first coherent communication the Xylos had ever received from humanity. "Greetings, unidentified vessel. We are the exploratory vessel Voyager of the United Earth Alliance. We detected your prime number sequence and interpreted it as a gesture of communication. We regret any past misunderstandings. Our analysis of the incident involving your previous vessel indicates a catastrophic system failure on our part, leading to an automated defensive response. We extend our sincerest apologies and offer full reparations. Our primary directive is peaceful exploration and mutual understanding. We wish to open a dialogue." Gyler felt a cold shock ripple through his body. Catastrophic system failure, automated defensive response. The Xylos had assumed malice, aggression. Humans claimed an accident, and then the offer of reparations. A concept almost unheard of in interstellar diplomacy, where transgressions were typically met with retaliatory force or demands for territorial concessions. Supreme Arbiter Thrin, receiving the transmission instantly, felt a profound shift in his understanding. "They apologize, they offer reparations, and they claim accidental engagement." He turned to Var. Could it be true that a species capable of such remarkable feats could possess such fallibility, such a capacity for error? Var's multifaceted eyes shimmered with intense thought. "Supreme Arbiter, their ship designs are deceptively simple. If their systems are indeed built from scrap, as our probes suggest, then a complex, adaptive AI governing defensive protocols, especially one designed for rapid resource processing and real-time construction, might indeed be prone to unpredictable responses when faced with an unknown, rapidly approaching energy signature. Our diplomatic vessel, while unarmed, still possessed a significant energy output, necessary for its extended mission parameters." The realization began to dawn on the Xylos. Their technologically sophisticated yet specialized diplomatic vessel had likely been perceived by a nascent, but rapidly evolving human defensive AI as an unknown, high-energy threat. An automated response, designed to protect the valuable yet vulnerable, scrap ships and their nascent colonies, would have been brutally efficient. It was not malice, but an unfortunate confluence of technology, intent, and misinterpretation. "They sent a single vessel, unarmed, to the very point of conflict," Thrin mused, the gravity of the situation settling upon him. "They are demonstrating trust, or a profound misunderstanding of our capacity for retribution. Or," Var offered, his voice hushed, "a profound confidence in their own ethical framework. They believe in their version of events. They believe in the power of apology and reconciliation." The Perceptor, maintaining its distance, observed the human vessel. It remained static, patient, radiating a calm, unwavering presence. Gyler felt a new emotion bloom within him, not fear but a profound curiosity. These humans, with their scrap ships and their chaotic communication, were not what the Xylos had anticipated. They were something far more complex, far more intriguing. "Supreme Arbiter," Gyler transmitted, his voice tinged with a new reverence, "the humans await our response. Their vessel is transmitting a stable, open channel. They are not retreating, they are offering." The Xylos' hegemony, faced with an unexpected olive branch from a species they had initially deemed primitive, then aggressive, then incomprehensible, now stood at a crossroads. Their ingrained assumptions about interstellar hierarchy, about technological superiority, about the very nature of conflict, were being challenged. Humans, with their cobbled-together ships and their deeply empathetic apologies, were proving to be an enigma of extraordinary proportions. The Xylo's delegation to the human vessel Voyager was a stark contrast to their usual resplendent displays of power. Supreme Arbiter Thrin himself led a small, unadorned transport, devoid of military escort, a deliberate act of trust. Accompanying him were Counselor Var, the hegemony's foremost expert on xenosociology, and a contingent of specialized linguists and cultural observers. The Voyager, though externally blocky and utilitarian, proved to be an unexpected labyrinth of organic warmth within. The interior was not the sterile, polished metal of Xylo's ships, but a vibrant ecosystem. Potted plants of various hues lined corridors, soft light filtered through what appeared to be reinforced organic panels, and the air carried the subtle scent of rich soil and growing things, a stark contrast to the filtered ozone of Xylo's habitats. Upon entering the central chamber of the Voyager, the Xylo's delegation was met by 3 humans. They were bipedal, with soft, supple skin, their forms less elongated and elegant than the Xylo's, more compact and sturdy. Their eyes, large and expressive, held a direct gaze that was unnerving in its intensity. One of them, a female with an aura of calm authority, stepped forward. Her voice, modulated by a universal translator now fully integrated into the Xylo's comms, was clear and steady. "Welcome, esteemed representatives of the Xylo's hegemony," she began, her tone carrying a profound sincerity. "I am Captain Aris Thorn, commanding officer of the Voyager. On behalf of the United Earth Alliance, I reiterate our deep regret regarding the unfortunate incident involving your diplomatic vessel. We understand the gravity of such a loss, and we extend our most profound apologies. We are prepared to offer any and all assistance in recovery and reparation." Thrin, his multifaceted eyes scanning the chamber, noted the lack of ostentation, the absence of any visible weaponry, the quiet efficiency of their movements. He had anticipated a display of strength, a demonstration of their scrap technology. Instead, he found an understated humility that was deeply disarming. "Captain Thorn," Thrin responded, his voice a melodic chime, "we accept your apology. Your willingness to extend such an offer without prior demand is unprecedented in our experience. We wish to understand the nature of this catastrophic system failure you spoke of, and the capabilities of your vessels." Captain Thorn gestured to a large, holographic display that materialized in the center of the chamber. It showed a detailed reconstruction of the initial contact incident. "Our early interstellar vessels, including the one involved in the incident, were designed with a primary focus on resource acquisition and rapid colonization of high-risk environments. This necessitated a highly adaptive, semi-autonomous defensive AI capable of operating in unpredictable conditions and under extreme resource constraints. We designated these Guardian AIs. The holographic display showed the Xylo's diplomatic vessel approaching, its energy signature, though peaceful, registering as a complex, rapidly oscillating pattern. The Guardian AI, in its analysis of your vessel's approach and energy signature, interpreted it as an unknown, high-energy entity approaching a protected, vulnerable colony world at high velocity. Its protocols, designed for a worst-case scenario in uncontrolled environments, prioritized immediate threat neutralization. It initiated a short-range, gravimetric pulse, designed to incapacitate, not destroy. Unfortunately, your vessel's structural integrity, designed for diplomatic travel, was not resilient enough to withstand the resulting localized space-time distortion. It imploded. Thrin's internal processors whirred. The Xylo's diplomatic ships were exquisitely crafted, but designed for specific roles. Combat vessels were armored, diplomatic vessels were not. The humans, operating under primitive conditions, had seemingly built everything for both survival and unforeseen contingencies. Their scrap ships, as crude as they appeared, possessed a robust adaptability that the Xylos had overlooked. "And your gravimetric pulse?" Var inquired, his voice laced with academic curiosity. "Our probes have detected similar energy signatures. We categorize them as energetic disruption. You use this technology for defense." Captain Thorn nodded. "Primarily, we call it kinetic displacement field technology. It uses localized, focused gravimetric anomalies to disrupt the structural integrity of incoming threats, or to deflect high-speed projectiles. It requires immense, fluctuating energy input, but our energy reactors, while simple in design, are highly efficient in converting raw matter into usable power. We learned to maximize efficiency from minimal resources." The Xylos were stunned. Their gravimetric research was theoretic. Relegated to high-level physics institutions. Humans had weaponized it using scrap materials. It was a terrifying yet awe-inspiring display of ingenuity. "This scrap technology of yours," Thrin mused, "it seems to defy conventional understanding. Our material analysis shows basic elements, yet your vessels possess incredible durability, adaptive shielding, and advanced propulsion." Another human, a male with a thoughtful expression, stepped forward. "We call it adaptive metamaterial construction," he explained, his voice equally calm. "When we first ventured into space, our resources were incredibly limited. We couldn't afford exotic alloys or rare elements, so we learned to manipulate the fundamental properties of common materials. Iron, carbon, silicon, these are abundant. We developed high-energy molecular forge systems that can rearrange the atomic lattice of these elements, creating designer materials with unprecedented strength-to-weight ratios, electromagnetic properties, and even self-repair capabilities. We can literally re-engineer matter on a molecular level from the most basic building blocks." Var gasped, a barely perceptible tremor running through his elongated form. "Molecular re-engineering, that is beyond our current theoretical limits. The energy requirements alone would be astronomical." Captain Thorne smiled faintly. "Necessity, as you might say, is the mother of invention. When your very survival depends on making do with what you have, you become resourceful. Our energy systems, while simple, are designed for extreme energy density and rapid conversion. We learn to harvest energy directly from localized gravitational fluctuations, from solar radiation, even from the residual energy of dark matter interactions. Every speck of energy, every atom is precious." The Xylos delegation was beginning to grasp the terrifying elegance of human technology. They didn't rely on rare earths or complex industrial chains. They simply took what was available, no matter how humble, and transformed it through an advanced understanding of fundamental physics. Their scrap ships were not crude. They were the ultimate expression of material efficiency and atomic mastery. "And your rapid colonization efforts?" Thrin inquired, still processing the implications of molecular re-engineering. "The speed with which you terraform worlds, establish complex habitats." "Again, adaptive metamaterial construction," Thorne explained. "We use vast automated constructor fleets, not to build habitats, but to literally grow them. We seed a planet's surface with self-replicating molecular forges, which then begin to break down the existing geology and atmosphere, re-engineering it into a habitable environment. They construct structures, atmospheric processors, and even basic biological ecosystems from the planetary regolith itself. It's an incredibly efficient and scalable process." The Xylos, who had spent millennia slowly terraforming a handful of select planets with massive, energy-intensive projects, were rendered speechless. Humans had, in essence, perfected a form of planetary-scale alchemy. "Your civilization," Thrin observed, his voice now imbued with a profound respect, "seems to have arisen from a philosophy of scarcity, of making the most from the least." "Indeed, Supreme Arbiter," Thorne agreed, her gaze steady. "Our home world, Earth, suffered greatly from resource depletion and environmental degradation due to our early unsustainable industrialization. We nearly destroyed ourselves. It was a harsh lesson. When we finally ventured to the stars, we vowed to never repeat those mistakes. Every resource, no matter how humble, is respected. Every process is optimized for efficiency and sustainability. We learned to build not just with what we had, but from what we had, to truly master the fundamental building blocks of the universe." The conversation continued for cycles, delving into the intricacies of human society, their philosophical underpinnings, their drive for exploration, and their profound regret for the accidental destruction of the Xylos vessel. The Xylos learned that human society was highly collaborative, emphasizing innovation and resilience. They possessed an inherent drive to solve problems, to overcome limitations, to constantly adapt and evolve. Their seemingly chaotic communication was, in fact, a rich tapestry of interwoven data streams. Scientific research, artistic expression, personal memoirs, and logistical directives, all flowing simultaneously, reflecting a culture that valued both logic and emotion, individual experience, and collective knowledge. As the Xylos delegation prepared to depart, Thrin turned to Captain Thorne. "Captain, your explanation has clarified much. Your apology and your offer of reparations are accepted with the utmost sincerity. However, there is a question that lingers. Your expansion, though peaceful in intent, is remarkably swift. Your scrap ships, though built from basic elements, are formidable. You have effectively turned the discarded fragments of the cosmos into instruments of power. What is your ultimate goal? What drives this relentless pursuit of efficiency and adaptation? Captain Thorne met his gaze, her eyes holding a depth that surprised Thrin. Supreme Arbiter, our ultimate goal is not conquest, nor accumulation of wealth in the traditional sense. It is survival. It is preparation. Our early forays into deep space revealed something disturbing, something far beyond the localized conflicts of emergent species. We encountered anomalies, disturbances in the cosmic background radiation, gravimetric echoes from ancient, unimaginably vast structures. Signs of a colossal, existential threat that predates all known galactic civilizations. A force that, if our calculations are correct, will one day sweep through this quadrant of the galaxy, obliterating everything in its path. The air in the chamber grew heavy, the soft glow of the organic panels seeming to dim. Thrin's internal processors faltered. An existential threat. Beyond the Xylo's hegemony, beyond even the ancient Thranks, there was something else. We have devoted all our resources, all our ingenuity to preparing for this eventuality, Thorne continued, her voice unwavering, yet imbued with a profound seriousness. Our scrap ships, our molecular re-engineering, our rapid colonization, it is all designed to build a vast, resilient, and highly adaptable defense network. Not just for ourselves, but for any species willing to stand with us. We learned to make the most dangerous ships in the galaxy, not to dominate, but to protect. To be ready for a darkness that approaches, a darkness that makes our squabbles over territory seem like the trivialities of hatchlings. She paused, her gaze sweeping over the Xylo's delegation, a silent plea in her expressive eyes. We came seeking allies, Supreme Arbiter, not territory, not resources, just time, and willing hands. For the true nature of the universe is not merely the expansion of life, but the constant, relentless struggle against the forces that would extinguish it. We offer you not just an apology, but a partnership, a chance to face the coming storm together. The twist, delivered with such calm conviction, shattered the Xylo's understanding of their place in the cosmos. They had been debating territorial disputes, technological superiority, and the subtle nuances of diplomatic etiquette, while humans, with their humble scrap, had been preparing for an apocalypse. The galaxy, as they knew it, was about to be irrevocably changed. And humanity, the species they had so casually dismissed, might be its only hope. The return of Supreme Arbiter Thrin to the Xylo's hegemony High Council chamber was marked by an unprecedented silence. The usual hum of political machinations, the subtle undercurrents of dissent and ambition, were utterly absent. The councillors, seated on their crystalline thrones beneath the simulated cosmos, waited with a palpable tension, their multifaceted eyes fixed on Thrin's elongated form. He moved with a newfound gravitas, his every limb radiating not just authority, but the immense weight of a truth too profound to be easily assimilated. Councillors, Thrin began, his voice a low, resonant chime, my visit to the human vessel Voyager was illuminating. Our initial assessments of humanity, of their technology, of their intent, were fundamentally flawed. We mistook their ingenuity for primitivism, their resourcefulness for desperation, and their efficiency for aggression. He paused, allowing the gravity of his words to settle. Councillor Lyra, ever the pragmatist, shifted uncomfortably. Supreme Arbiter, while we acknowledge your diplomatic efforts, the facts remain. Their actions led to the destruction of a Xylo's vessel. Their expansion into the frontier zone remains vigorous. Indeed, Councillor, Thrin conceded, his gaze unwavering. But the context of those facts has changed irrevocably. The destruction of our diplomatic vessel was not an act of malice, but an unfortunate consequence of an automated defensive system operating under extreme parameters, designed to protect nascent colonies in what they perceived as a hostile, resource-scarce environment. They extended a full apology, and their offer of reparations is comprehensive, even extending to the sharing of the very technologies that enabled their rapid processing of raw materials. He activated a holographic projection, displaying the detailed schematics of human molecular forge systems and kinetic displacement field generators. The councillors murmured, their initial skepticism giving way to a dawning, bewildered comprehension. Var, however, remained silent, his eyes fixed on the projections, absorbing every detail with scholarly intensity. Their technology, Thrin continued, his voice gaining strength, while a Piri,